Good morning, guys. Alright, so today we are going to be talking about our next section, which is linear functions. This section will actually be much easier than the last section, so I know that you all will be excited about that. First part of this section is something that you all would have learned first in probably 8th grade, slope of a line. When you are looking at the slope of a line, most of the time we look at two particular points. We look at them as ordered pairs, as an x and y pair of the first point, x and y pair of a second point. When we look at slope, we look at it over these several different ways. The variable that we use in the equation for slope is m. Rise over run is something that we talk about when we're looking at the graph. I like to think of rise with a y instead of an I, and that being because when we think of the equation for the slope, our y values go on top. So you subtract the y values in the numerator, subtract your x values in the denominator to find the rate of change. Alright, now when you are looking at lines, there are 4 types of lines, which is why I have these 4 boxes here. You can have a positive line. A positive line is an increasing line, so if you are looking at it from left to right, it will be increasing, and when you look at the equation of the line, the slope will be positive. Right? You can also have a line that has a negative slope. A negative slope has a line that is decreasing from left to right. Now, there are 2 other types of lines. One is a vertical line. A vertical line is up and down. And for that particular line, it has an undefined slope. When you're looking at the equation, it's x equals some number, so it actually does not have a slope. It's just x equals some number. When we look at a horizontal line, horizontal line is a flat line running left to right. And the slope of that line is 0. Has a 0 slope. Now, something that I like to say that helps me remember the difference between vertical and horizontal is Bucks hoy! Bucks hoy. And that is V for vertical, undefined slope, and your equation is x equals a number. Bucks, and then hoy, horizontal line, a 0 slope, and your equation is y equals a number. So you will hear me say throughout the course, probably, I might randomly scare you and say, "What's hoy?" And that's why, trying to get you to remember those lines, vertical and horizontal. Alright, now, as you get to your questions, you're going to have to calculate the slope for some different situations. The first one will be, they will give you some points and ask you to find the slope. In that case, what you're going to do is to use the formula. Right, so what we do first is identify the x and y value of our first point and the x and y value of our second point. And then we're going to use our formula. Slope equals y sub 2 subtract y sub 1 over x sub 2 subtract x sub 1. Our y sub 2 is negative 7. Subtract our y sub 1, which is negative 8, over x sub 2, which is negative 2, subtract x sub 1, which is 1. All right, now if you put that into the calculator, make sure that you use alpha y equals to get that fraction line. -7 subtract -8 over -2 subtract 1. All right, and we get -1/3. Okay, now example B is exactly the same. We're going to use the formula again. It may be written in the questions. It may say f of 3 equals 4 and f of 9 equals -3. This is the same thing as these 2 points. It's just written in function notation rather than as ordered pairs. So in this situation, you'll still do the same thing. This will be your x value. This will be your y value of your first point, x and y value of your second point. All right, so we'll still use the formula. Y sub 2 is -3. Subtract y sub 1, which is 4, over x sub 2, which is 9. Subtract x sub 1, which is 3. All right, -3 subtract 4 is -7. 9 subtract 3 is 6. Now, on the 2 that we just worked, we haven't had to simplify our fractions. Make yourself a note here, though, if your fraction needs to be simplified, always simplify if possible. Just in case you get a question where you have to simplify. All right, now your next question. Oh, I have to show you. My granddaughter just drew something she wants you to see. Happy flower. All right, now, next question here. C, y equals -4. Okay, so we go back to Voxhoy. All right, so hoy, y equals 4. That's going to be a hoy, which is y only. If there is only y in the equation, that means that there is a 0 slope. So it will be a horizontal line. And so when they ask you what the slope is, you will say 0. All right, now, same thing if you have x equals Voxhoy. All right, so this is a Vux situation. This one would be a vertical line. A vertical line has an undefined slope. And so you would select undefined slope. Okay, now another example I wanted to show you, if they give you some questions, let's say, for example, they have that the points are 3, -2, 4, -2. If you calculate that using the formula, you would have y sub 2 is -2, subtract y sub 1 is -2, over x sub 2 is 4, subtract x sub 1, which is 3. -2 subtract -2 is 0. 4 subtract 3 is 1. That is 0. So in this case, notice that our y values are the same, and that's a y only situation. That's going to be a horizontal line. All right, now let's look at a situation that they might give you for a vertical line. An example, they may give you 2 points such as 3, -1 and 3, -5. If we find the slope, we would do -5 subtract -1 over 3 subtract 3. -5 subtract -1 is -4 over 0. Friends don't let friends divide by 0. Okay, so right here, we can't do this. So that means it is undefined. So this would be a vertical line. And I forgot to write over here, this one would be horizontal. We said it, but I forgot to write it for you to look at later. All right, so down here, the slopes of horizontal lines are 0, and the slopes of vertical lines are undefined. All right, let's flip over to the back. All right, now, probably the most familiar linear equation that you're used to is slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. You have two things that we identify here. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept, which is where it will cross the y-axis. All right, now, the steps that they like for you to use, how to find the slope-intercept equation of the line. Step 1, they want you to solve for y. Now, I'm going to give you the specific steps that they want you to use. First, move all terms except y. Move all terms except y to the opposite side. So move all terms except y to the opposite side. Now, when you move a term to the opposite side of the equal sign, remember that that means that you need to change it to the opposite sign. All right, now once you do that, you're going to divide each term by the coefficient of y. Divide each term by the coefficient of y. And then this last step is to simplify fraction if needed. Simplify fraction if needed. Right, now, sometimes the question will ask you, what is the slope? Remember that the slope is the coefficient of x. The slope is the coefficient of x. Okay, so let's try some of these. All right, so for this first one, A, already in slope-intercept form. So when it asks you to find the slope, super simple. The slope is what we are multiplying by x. So right there it is. Your slope is 7.